As they say, a picture can mean 1,000 words. I'll call her the young African queen who stands there so bold, so fearless, with so much courage. She reminds me of so many proud and dignified black women who are beyond brave and willing to take a stand for what they believed in. When I stare deep into this picture, I see the spirit of the great Fannie Lou Hamer, who rose from the depths of poverty in rural Mississippi as a sharecropper to become one of the most powerful voices of the 1960s voting and civil rights movement. During her quest for voting rights, she received numerous death threats. There were 16 bullets shot into her home. She was brutally beaten near to death by the police, leaving her with permanent kidney damage, a blood clot in her eye, and severe damage to her legs. She was removed from her home and her property was confiscated, yet she kept fighting. Finally, after being denied numerous times, by 1968, she became a member of the Mississippi First Democratic Party integrated delegation. She famously stated, "Nobody's free until everybody is free." I see the youthful strength of Ruby Bridges, who was only 6 years old when in 1960 she integrated with the assistant of federal marshals the segregated William Frantz Elementary School during New Orleans, Louisiana desegregation crisis. She was screamed at, yelled at, all type of racial slurs by segregationists, many of which withdrew their children permanently. There was only one teacher, Barbara Henry, willing to accept Ruby as a student, as Ruby was forced to be in a classroom by herself for the entire year. But Ruby never missed a day of school that year. Ruby Bridges became as equally well known for being the subject of the famous painting of her entitled "The Problem We All Live With" by Norman Rockwell. As I focus on this photo, I see the braveness of the 15-year-old Elizabeth Eckford. She was one of the Little Rock Nine, a group of 9 African-American high school students who in 1957, with the Army National Guard present, were the first to integrate a high school in the South. The Little Rock Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. Elizabeth Eckford endured vicious racial slurs by an angry mob of over 1,000 people. She was surrounded and threatened to be lynched. She was on a daily basis punched and kicked and even shoved downstairs and scalded with hot water as she received all types of physical and mental abuse the entire school year. The photo of Elizabeth Eckford surrounded by an angry white mob of white supremacists screaming and yelling at her became one of the most iconic and memorable photos of the civil rights era. When looking at this photograph, it reminded me of the iconic 1963 photo of Gloria Hayes Richardson during the Cambridge, Maryland riots, staring so angrily and fearlessly at an Army National Guard officer who had a rifle with a bayonet attached, pointing at her. I see the valor of Gloria Hayes Richardson as she fought so graciously for the freedom of so many. Gloria was known as the second Harriet Tubman. She organized the Cambridge Nonviolent Action Committee in the segregated city of Cambridge, Maryland, where under her leadership, the Cambridge movement held sit-ins in segregated restaurants and theaters, as well as called for greater economic opportunities for the city's African American residents. When Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, Gloria Richardson was recognized on stage as one of the 6 Negro women fighters for freedom. I pay great homage to the young African queen who is so valiant and so bold. I see so much of her strength being pulled from ancestors in the past. I see it. I feel it. I see it. I can see it. I can see it. I can see it. Can you? Thank you.